Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Leslie Brown, owner of Mac Global Corporation. Thanks for joining me, Leslie.
Absolutely, Jesse. That was a great introduction. See, you didn't do one thing wrong there.
Well, as to people who've been watching these, that's typically where I mess it up. But
if they haven't been watching it, they're missing out.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It's actually funny is I'm looking at kind of the agenda here, and I think I was originally trying to get you on this when it started, but you are a very busy lady to track down. So I really appreciate you giving me some time today, Leslie.
I should have done it sooner. I don't know if I'm too busy to visit with you, and I just went to my first conference in a long time, right? And so making time for those kinds of things now is real. I think the next 2 years, that's what everybody's doing, is making time to reconnect and visit and do all that stuff, because I do my best business in person. I don't know about you, but that face to face, it can't be beat.
It can't be beat. And it was really refreshing seeing you in California a couple weeks ago at NIFA, and looking forward to our paths crossing again. I'm sure we'll have some conference. I want to learn a little bit more about the AACFB. I was never in NELB, never went to a NELB event before, and I think that's what that is, right? They rebranded. So
yep, just rebranded to AACFB. I was just elected treasurer over there, so I'm on the board of directors. Yeah, and we have a conference coming up in May in North Carolina, and that's going to be my first conference with the AACFB in a while. But I think it's going to be great, because I know at the conference I was just at, a lot of connections were made, a lot of business was done, a lot of reconnecting was done, which is amazing. It needs to happen. And I expect that to happen at the AACFB. And so I'll be going up there as a newly elected treasurer. I'm kind of excited about that, so I can help out.
Congratulations on that. And that's in, where's that, in Charlotte?
Yeah, Charlotte, North Carolina. Yeah, I think it's May 10th through 14th, but I'd have to check the calendar for you, because
I guess for the people watching this, like, who should go to that conference? Is it just for brokers, or?
Oh, absolutely not. I think anyone who is in the finance industry needs to make it out to AACFB and become a member. It's obviously broker oriented, but that means that funders who are looking to have that resource need to be a part of it, not just so that they can have a good stream of business, but so that they can help to continue educating and being educated by brokers, because that relationship is a strong one and is constantly needing to be reviewed and refined, so that we can service customers and business owners and vendors who are selling equipment, all of that stuff. And if brokers and lenders aren't talking and communicating, and that happens over dinner, right? It happens over a cocktail or whatever, then we're not doing the best that we can for small businesses. So I'd say anyone in finance whatsoever, even banks, having representatives who might be looking to grow their portfolio, any vendors or finance companies, especially brokers wanting to be more educated. We need to continue that education too.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And shame on me, I just went down that little rabbit hole there. I didn't even really have you introduce yourself. So for those people who are watching this and they might not know who Leslie Brown is, mind just kind of talking about your career to date?
Yeah, I'll talk about my career. And by the way, you're going to come to AACFB, aren't you?
I am trying to. That overlaps with one of our customers' user groups. So we'll do my best.
Because I think I invited you.
You did.
Maybe at the next one. I'll be sure to send you that schedule.
Okay, and, absolutely.
I'll see you at the next NEFA event, I'm sure, too. NIFA.
Yeah.
NEFA and NIFA. Which one is it?
I mean, it's NIFA, but I mean, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna judge you for saying NEFA. I mean,
why don't you? The last how many years have we known each other? You've never corrected me. Why is that then? You're just gonna let me just keep saying it wrong?
Well, I mean, it's like when someone says water or water, it's
yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so my career, let's see. Before finance, I started out in collections. And it was a third-party collection company collecting on medical bills. So if you know anything about medical collections, once it gets to third party, you know that people probably are dealing with their illness and they don't really care that much about paying bills. And those are the kind of people that I think everybody should learn to work with before they get into any type of collections or finance, because there's this big idea out there that everybody clings onto, that finance or collections or portfolio management or making money has to do with just hitting metrics and doing business and these dollars in and these dollars out, but that's really not what it's all about at all. And if you spend any time doing what I did, then you'll know that it's about relationships. And if you can get someone on the phone and you can get them to connect with you enough to where they care about this medical bill when they might be dealing with a life-threatening illness, then you really understand how to connect with people, not just on the sales side of finance, but on the collection side, the portfolio management side, on all caveats have to do with finance. And so that's where I started out, was talking with people and realizing and learning that money and finance and having money come in isn't about just the money coming in. It's about the people. It's about the parties who are involved. And so then I went to work. My very first finance job was with Team Funding out of Austin, Texas. And at that time, they were a challenged credit funder. And they had a portfolio that needed tending and collections. And I came in and did that. And I think I was with them for probably a decade. And then transitioned over to Bravo, which is another challenge credit portfolio funder. And I managed their broker side. So now I had switched from doing collections to managing my own portfolio and bringing on brokers to be a source of transactions for Bravo as a lender. So I got to learn a lot there. And as I was at each of these companies, I was in all of the positions voluntarily, so I could learn it, everything from marketing to I was trying to do accounting and everything. So then from Bravo, I kind of jumped off and started my own portfolio and my own businesses. And one of those is Mac Global. And I act as a broker. And then I also have my own small portfolio as well, but mostly a broker towards discounting sources and other lenders who have proven to be good relationships, because those can be sometimes hard to find, I think.
Yeah, no. So what was that like, going from like a funder to broker? Because traditionally, and the reason I asked that question, Leslie, is traditionally when the people I've interviewed on here have gone the other way. So that's where I'm curious to see like what that was like for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was a big awakening when that transition happened, because when you're a lender dealing with brokers, you have this kind of idea of what a broker is or what they do or what kinds of transactions they're going to send you, or maybe what kind of character they have. And then when you transition over to the broker side, if you're like me, and I think that just like lenders, there are all kinds of different brokers out there. If you're like me, you want to do your best and you want to build strong relationships, you realize that you kind of have to battle through a little bit of the perception that brokers might have out there in the industry, and really prove that you're out there to create strong, long-lasting relationships and not just get a deal done. And that's not just on the lender side, that's on the customer side too. So you can't just be great, you have to be phenomenal, or you're not going to do the industry any justice.
No, that's fair. And obviously, from what I know of your track record, that's why you're thriving in this role. So
thank you.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
One other question I have for you is the CLFP. I don't know if you heard Reed called me out, but I am not one. Eventually I'll do it. Eventually I'll conform and take it. But why did you decide to be a CLFP, Leslie, and what does that designation mean to you?
Well, I mean, obviously the CLFP means to me that someone's a professional, and that they didn't just say that they're a professional, and they didn't just glide into the industry with this half absorbed knowledge that,
Whatever. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. I'm sure Rita really love this.
Nothing against you.
No, it's perfect. Perfect.
Look, become a CLFP. It is easier now than it was when I became a CLFP. I'm still going to make fun of you because you're going to become a CLFP when they actually do the tests on the computer, and it's like multiple choice. Because when I did the CLFP exam, no, it was an 8-hour written essay exam.
Yeah.
And I got cramps in my hand towards the end of the day, that was it. But I wasn't giving up, and Reed wouldn't have let me give up.
That's fair.
But there's something about the knowing information so well that if someone asks you a question, you can literally write half a page on it. It's not that I might kind of know this, so I'm going to kind of suggest what this might be. So anyone that's been a CLFP for several years and took the essay exam, I think Kirsten Patterson at Utah Bank is one of them. We were talking about that. Hey, kudos to you. We're buds. And anyone coming on after that, you still need to do it. It still is a very intensive and educational program. And it means that you know what you're doing. I can't tell you how many times people reached out to do business with me, and I've seen the CLFP after their name, and I made them a priority because I know that who I'm dealing with knows what they're talking about, and they're going to be held to a certain code of conduct. And that goes right back to if you're a broker and you're dealing with these lenders, and you want to show that you know what you're doing and that your transactions can be trusted, and that they're going to perform well. That CLFP designation is going to do a lot.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. So to me, it means someone knows what they're doing. And if you don't have a CLFP, it doesn't mean you don't, but it also doesn't mean you do.
It's a good icebreaker too, because like you said, especially in the broker community, because, when I was on, the NEFA board for a while, NEFA, not NEFA, but anyhow, it was like you have to be careful sometimes, because unfortunately there's some bad apples that give a bad perception to certain things, and that's across the board, from funding sources to service providers to whatever. But if someone's taken that time to have that designation, I can definitely see where that's an easier conversation.
Absolutely, because people aren't trying to be bad out there, most of the time. I know very few people in the finance industry that are just intentionally trying to be malicious or do things wrong. It's just the lack of education. Right. And the CLFP course, protects you from that, because you're going to be educated. You're going to be talking about like the Aztec era of finance.
Sell me on why I should do this again, please.
If you ever want to tell people about the history of finance, CLFP is the way to go. Not only that, you have to take a test every year. And so they just make sure that you know what you're talking about, because it changes so quickly. If you don't know, you're in the dark ages.
That's fair. That's fair. Next thing I wanted to go into, if you don't mind, the top women in equipment finance designation. Like, when you found out from the monitor that you got that, how'd that make you feel? And what does that mean to you, Leslie?
It means that there's a group of people out there that have a publication that have taken the time to recognize not just me, but a huge group of people, women, that have made a big difference in the industry. And I love when people are recognized for what they do. So I was very grateful for that. It prompted me to continue to try to refine and improve even upon what I'm doing now, because people out there notice. And that was just a reminder that takes place, that recognition is a basis for the change and the improvement that you're providing to other people's lives, not just in our industry, but the people utilize our industry to put food on the table. And that's a big deal for me. So thank you to the Monitor. The Monitor, absolute amazing publication. I've written a few things for them. They've been so good and they're insightful. And I love when they do recognize people. So that was great. Yeah.
And then like your passion for writing, like, let's talk about that. Because I know you're a guest editor. I've read a few of your things. There's a few of your things that you've had published that I haven't read just because it's over my like brain.
Oh, come on. I think so. It's funny that you mentioned that because May at the last NEFA, that's not NEFA, that's NEFA. Let's get it right. At the last NEFA convention, May came up to me and she was talking about, I read your last article on the Monitor. And I think some of us who write for the Monitor, even if it's regularly, we forget that people actually read them sometimes. You know, we're writing about these things, like you're talking about, it's a passion. And then you're out in the industry and people come up to you like, I read that bit you did on Bitcoin. I'm right with you. Or I read that bit you did on Bitcoin. I don't have nothing to do with that. You know?
I don't know what it is. Like, what is going on?
They already have an idea. They've thought of this response to your article in their minds and they've just been holding on to it for the time when they see you and then this conversation happens or whatever, you know? So yeah, I love to write about that stuff. There's a lot of things I think about and I reflect on my day-to-day that maybe I don't get to conversate with someone about, like maybe you and I, maybe we don't jump on the phone and talk about everything that I'm thinking about, right? Or me and Kirsten, or me and May, or me or any of my friends in the industry. And so when I write, I get to do that. And one of the big things I've been on lately is regenerative business. And that's the idea that businesses have a greater role to play than just providing a service. And that is to produce an environment where people can become the type of citizens that we want in our society, right? And so it deals with developing people rather than just telling them what to do. And so in reading and studying and trying to practice that, being able to put those thoughts out there for other people to read and not necessarily agree. I mean, disagree all you want. I mean, that's what we want.
Perspective. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Putting that out there and having people come back to me and say, well, I agree or I don't agree, then that's been a big learning thing. So I get the benefit of that, really.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I've written a few articles. I don't know if people read them or not.
You need to plug them right now. This is the time. Where are they?
You know what? It's
in the Monitor.
No, I think Equipment Finance Advisor asked me to do one last year on like branding and like what is your personal brand. And it was funny because they asked me for 3,000 words and I think I gave them like 7. And I'm like, listens well to directions.
Not
this guy. It's like, well, we need to cut this in half. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, like where? At that point, you're like, it's all important, man. You can't take any of it out.
It's like, you know, single space, smaller font. No, it's words. Oh. No. So I might be one and done with them, but whatever.
I've been there.
So I noticed you do these for the AACFB, and as typically, so you're on the opposite side for this one. So thank you again for maybe stepping out of your comfort zone. What are things that like you run into? I mean, I think I texted you a photo of what this setup actually is. It's like a trash can turned upside down, so it actually fits like this area here. So people watching, like what? But what are some of the things that you kind of come across, or even some of the people that you interview that you're just like, wow, how do I get some personality out of these people? Like, can you?
I've been lucky. They've all been very personable, so I've loved that. What really helps is when we all show our cameras, like you said, outside of the screen that you're seeing, and one of us is wearing like bunny slippers and exactly, and then you realize that that we all need to have the business personality, but behind that, which is why we do these,
Yeah.
we have a real personality. And whenever you can show that, at the very beginning, like you and I just did a while ago, then it goes really smooth. What I've noticed though is that sometimes people, myself included, can get so caught up in what we think we should be presenting ourselves as,
Yeah.
that we really lose the essence of what people really want or need. And that's always my biggest message, is that you think that there's something that you need to be to make this a great thing, or to connect with people, or for when people watch it, for it to be a certain way. But the truth is they really just only want the genuine you, however that is. So don't try too hard, because that's what's going to make it not enjoyable for you. The other thing, and I was thinking about this, and I think you and I talked about this, and I said I was going to bring it up on camera, but it was the whole deal where I've worked with and for people sometimes in some arenas where they're very good about saying, get out there and go do this, go be seen, be the face of the company or whatever, but you never see them get outside from behind their desk, right?
Yeah.
And so they're kind of gung-ho about the, being other people being in front of the camera versus themselves. And then you just have to ask yourself, when you go back to that idea of, why do you have to try so hard to have a presentation? What is it about you that can't just be presented and genuine? Because you're the reason we're here, not whoever that thing is or whatever that thing is that we think you are. I mean, we all work together close enough to know, like, hey, Leslie's late, man. Her schedule is jacked. And but just admit it and go on, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not going to come on here and go, well, I was right on time today. Not going to happen because it didn't.
And no one will know. There's no timestamps on these things, so we're perfectly fine.
Yeah. I mean, even if there was, I'd just be like, told you I was late, and here we go. We're just going to move on, move it right on along. But I think that's the biggest thing is if people are afraid to get in front of camera, I always wonder why, why be afraid of that?
Well, to me, it's not a natural thing. I mean, I think the pandemic, before the pandemic, I never turned on my camera because typically I was on the road all the time, like in front of people. And the last thing I want to do, it's like, you haven't slept for 3 days or 4 days. I don't want to turn on my camera. It's like, just leave me alone. Like I'm here. Okay. I made the meeting. Like, can we just give me a second? But like, it's just getting people out of their comfort zone. But yeah.
Would it really matter if we all came like if we had something to do, right? You and I are visiting right now. Would it really matter if we all came, get our pajamas on, we just throw our hair up kind of like this, and we're just like, yeah, okay. But then we close like a multi-million-dollar deal. Does it matter?
No. I like your hair like that, by the way.
Right, like
it's like I'm watching an 80s show. Like, it's like fantastic.
You might actually enjoy the meeting a little bit better like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Be like, yeah, you're looking good today. You made this meeting worthwhile.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, it is refreshing when you get on here, and it's like I always wear like I try to look the part, but the shorts on, slippers. So it's like whatever. Like I don't care.
That's one thing the pandemic has done though, right? Is it kind of taught us all that we can do work as ourselves again a little bit.
It almost like humanized. I think that's one of the words, humanized equipment finance. And all those people over the years that when you show up to an office and you can't get your tech to work because a bank has like a firewall and you just can't get in. And these are the same C-level people that can't figure out how to turn on a camera.
Yeah.
So I think if anything, or a dog barks, or like, your kid walks up on something, people now they can relate. So
the imperfections, right? Isn't that what makes it worthwhile, is the imperfections? I mean, if every deal was perfect, would we even really be here, this whole entire industry? I mean, the whole industry, and you'd know this if you were a Clfb, by the way.
I didn't hear that. I can probably cut that, but I won't.
Oh, gotcha. the whole entire industry was built off of the imperfections of what was considered perfect in the financial world way back, when people were chartering sailboats or, I mean, the imperfection, I don't think we should get rid of that. I think we should maximize it, really.
It's fair. It's
Yeah.
perfectly fair. And I really like what you touched on a little bit ago, where it's like your own personal brand and your genuineness. Is that a word? Maybe it's genuinity. Genuinity.
I think your word's better. Go with that one.
We're gonna go with that one for now. But that is what makes or breaks people in this space, because anyone can lease anything, but it's the people that you do business with, is what I find out.
Absolutely. If I have a problem, I don't want to call up who I think is someone who's going to have my back or help out or know the answer. I'm going to call the person in the bunny slippers who I know has the answer.
It's fair. That's perfectly fair.
That has happened.
Hey, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So, what do you like? I ask everyone who comes on here to give a little fun fact about themselves. So, besides equipment and finance, and writing, what else makes Leslie tick?
I'm really big into reading philosophical books from probably, I would say 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. I'm huge into that kind of stuff. And even philosophical books from the Victorian era, when we had a lot of great writing going on, and then leading up to the revolution. There's some great things like As a Man Thinketh, which was written by, a farmer in England. And it's become a huge, and it's a pamphlet. It's like this, it's maybe 20 pages and it's so thin. But
so my 7,000 words would have been perfect.
Exactly. You could have been him. You need to start publishing that stuff. Because 200 years later, people could be watching it. Not watching it. They'd be reading it, Jesse. Aren't you supposed to edit that part? Don't edit it, because that's the imperfection that we're talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But so I'm into that kind of stuff. Quantum physics is a huge thing for me. I have written about it, but you said not writing. I love to do tests. So like I'm building a flam room with some your face.
I'm like, oh, like, sorry.
Yeah, so when you have acreage in Texas, there's a lot of things you can do. So I'm building a flam room, and I have some scientific, I would say, chemistry things going on out there.
Okay,
and,
I'm coming to Texas. I'm going to come to Texas. We're going to blow some stuff up. Let's go.
And you have to have a flam room to blow stuff up. So
I've never heard of a flam room before, but I'm really excited now. No, no.
That's where you blow stuff up at, because it keeps the fire inside.
Okay.
Like you asked.
No,
there
perfect.
You go. Yeah. So, and since I just got my other investment property in Colorado, then I think I'm going to try snowboarding. I think so. We'll see. Why? Yeah. Why not? Right?
Why not? I mean,
yeah.
YOLO is that
YOLO. I've never used that before, ever.
Either have I. I don't know why the acronym came out. I just trying to make up for genuinity or whatever. So
genuineness. We're not going with my word because it did not sound right. Yeah. And then I would say probably the other passion I have is and finance. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because finance kind of gave birth to this passion for me. When I looked around and I realized there was a lot of people who needed homes, and they couldn't get it because the traditional finance world doesn't really work around allowing people to have homes, not own them. They'll let them rent them, but they don't let them own them. And I just thought that was kind of a shame. So A couple of my other businesses revolve around providing home ownership to individuals who can't get financing with a bank. And so they'll come on with me and we'll do a mortgage. They'll make payments for a year or two. And as long as they make those on time, then we have a relationship with local banks who will agree, even if their credit scores don't qualify, they'll agree to take that mortgage on and let them start building their credit. Yeah. So one of my most favorite stories is about one of my renters named Thelma, who turned into a homeowner. And she had a really hard upbringing and she can't read. She can't read to this day. But she had been renting homes. Her and her husband have worked and she's been renting. She's made her payments forever, for years. She's probably 50 years old at this point. And she was introduced to me by someone who knew what we did. And so she came into my office and we read through the whole mortgage together. And she now owns her home. And she's very proud of it. Awesome. Yeah. And we have conversations and we talk at Christmas and we do all those things. So that's probably one of the bigger passions that I have outside of equipment finance.
That's amazing. And that's a good point, because there's a lot of people, banks, when I was going through like refinancing this house, it's amazing how tight like some of the restrictions are. You almost have to give like your firstborn in order to
and promise your second and third and report when they might come. And it's really I think the more the government gets involved and the more we allow, let's just say that the more we allow the government to get involved and regulate industries, specifically the mortgage industry, the more difficult it becomes. And that's when citizens, normal citizens like me and you and anyone can do it, can step in and go, we don't need these government regulated companies or banks or whatever, people who are associated with the Fed. We don't need them to conduct a business. And that's what I love about our industry the most, is it's rebellious, right? It's rebellion. You don't have to have permission to do business with each other. You and I can have a transaction and we don't need permission. And we need to make sure that we keep that way,
Well said.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna, in closing here, we could probably continue this conversation for hours. At the end of the day, like, why do business with Leslie Brown?
Oh, I don't know. My hair's crazy sometimes. No. Why do business with Leslie? Am I supposed to have to think long about that, Jesse?
No. And I can edit this. I can edit this portion out. If you don't like that question, that's typically
no. I think this goes back to brand. I don't know. You're the brand person. What do you think it should be?
I think that you excel in everything you do. According to Kirsten, you have the highest broker approval ratings, and everything you give her is spot on. That's where I would go with this, where it's like, hey, when I show up,
don't you dare edit this. You just keep this in. Keep going.
No, it's just like you're just your true self. And I'm not sure if maybe you're looking potential other funding sources that might not know who Leslie is.
I'll leave it to you to edit this out, but I'll be genuine with you, right? I don't know that I'm looking for anything. I think at this point in my career, and I'm very, very lucky to be able to say this and to mean it genuinely, I really just spend most of my time trying to be available to people who
except for that phone call.
Yeah.
I like to be available. Voicemail.
I like to be available. Silent. I really do. I love this question because it's making me think about something I haven't thought about in a long time. And I really am not out banging on doors like maybe I used to be years ago. And I'm not looking to take on more lending sources. That doesn't mean I won't, or that I'm not willing to consider it. And I'm not even saying that I'm looking for more vendor or more customer, because we have a huge book of business and they all perform, just like you heard, right? And if they're not performing, I'm the one on the phone calling someone and saying, what's going on? Is this a temporary situation? Is it long-term? What do we need to do to work this out? So, why do business with me? I think that you probably can't do business with anyone better, but I don't mean that arrogantly. I just mean that as I'm going to make myself available to do the very best that I can. And I hope we can do business. But even I have so much bandwidth, right? And
what are you talking about? There's nothing you can't do. Come on now.
Even I have so much bandwidth, and you know, and we want to maintain the type of service that we maintain, not just to our customers, but to our lenders. So if we already do business together, which I'm sure a lot of people that I do business with watch your podcast, I know I do. Then thank you, because you keep my day full and you give me a reason to excel. And there's nothing I'd rather be doing.
Well, thank you, Leslie, for your time today. It's always a pleasure, you know, catching up with you, and thank you for sharing your story. And we'll see what I can do to figure out how to get to that AACFB event.
Yeah, and Clfb designation.
Oh, I'm having bad internet. I can't hear you.
I think Reed and I should get together and both harass you on a recurring schedule. And that's just what I need, another calendar reminder. Actually, I think I've shown you my calendar and it's empty.
Mine's not empty. I'm envious of your calendar.
It's because I'm available.